Hi guys, today we're going to talk about photo file formats. I'm Leo and this is my channel, Leo Tech Lab. If you don't know it yet, take a look at the introduction video. Let's go! Usually when we take a picture with our cell phone or with our camera, we are saving that picture in the JPEG format, which is the most common format in the industry. Those files, which usually use the .jpg or .jpeg extension, store the picture in its final already processed form, ready to be consumed, shared, or stored. Other than the image itself, these files also store information about the image. This information is called metadata, and these include exposure information such as aperture, shutter speed, the ISO value that was used, GPS coordinates that indicate where the picture was taken, the date and time of the picture, and you can also add other metadata such as people or places that are depicted in your images, for example. As such, it is important to note that metadata is mutable and you can add or edit metadata using, for example, photo editing software. If you have a more recent cell phone or camera, you may have noticed that it is possible to store your images in a new format, the HEIF. HEIF stands for High Efficiency Image File, and it is a new container format to store images. The most common image format that HEIF stores is the HEIC or High Efficiency Image Coding. That's why when you have an HEIF file with an HEIC image within, the extension is .HEIC. So, JPEG versus HEIC, which one to use? In my opinion, HEIC hands down. Here's why. First of all, HEIC supports 16-bit images versus the 8-bit images maximum that JPEG supports. The result is a superior image quality in the case of the HEIC format. Also, versatility. HEIC is a more versatile format given that it supports images with transparencies and it also adds better support for HDR images. Finally, compression. HEIC uses a much better compression system when comparing to JPEG. This results in the same image quality occupying about half the space of the corresponding JPEG image. In average, of course. So what about HEIC disadvantages? Are there any? In my opinion, there is only one disadvantage: adoption. Because given that it is a relatively new format, it doesn't yet has the same adoption level as with JPEG files. Should you be worried about this? In my opinion, no. It's just a matter of time. Most recent devices already bring native HEIC support, and for older devices we just need to install the HEIC codecs on those devices' operating systems to have the full support of the format. For example, Apple is using this format since 2017. So, now you know my opinion. If you can, shoot in HEIC instead of JPEG. So there's still a third option: RAW files. Although it is more common in cameras, several more recent smartphones already give you the possibility to shoot your images and store them in a RAW format. But what is this RAW format anyway? As I already explained when I was talking about JPEGs, and this is true for HEIC files as well, these kinds of formats are used to store the final image, the image that was already processed and is therefore ready to be consumed, shared, and stored. In case of a RAW file, this file stores a raw image. That image was obtained directly through the camera sensor and stored as is, without any processing. Without the processing phase, the raw file still needs to be worked on and edited before it can be consumed. given that its raw nature of the image is not pleasing to the eye, nor does it represent what we were seeing with our own human eyes. That's why the processing phase exists, to adjust several parameters of the image, including exposure adjustments, white balance, color correction, lens distortion correction, compression, among many others. This will make the image much more appealing and much more similar to what our human eyes were looking at the time we took the picture. Given that RAW files are unprocessed and uncompressed, they are able to retain the full information captured by the camera sensor. This means that, on one hand, they are much bigger in terms of file size, but on the other hand, they enable full editing capabilities of the image. For more creative people, for example, this may be a very key aspect. In terms of metadata, RAW files can also store them, just as JPEGs or HEICs can. There is one more key aspect here we need to address. Unlike JPEGs or HEICs, which are well-known standards supported across all the industry, RAW files are not the case. Actually, it's more common for each manufacturer to create its own closed proprietary RAW file. This, in turn, makes accessing 100% of the information contained in that RAW file very hard. I'm planning on addressing this very important aspect in a future video. So, RAW versus processed files such as JPEG and HEIC. Which one should you go for? In terms of summary, here is a little table to highlight the main differences that for me are the most relevant ones. You may want to pause the video to take a better look at the table. So, should you shoot RAW or just JPEG or HEIC? I'll keep it very simple for you. If you value your edits, shoot both simultaneously. Most cameras have this option. That way, you will have a JPEG or HEIC ready to consume and to share immediately, but you will also retain the editing ability with the RAW. Otherwise, just shoot JPEG or HEIC. And that's it. I hope this was useful to you. Please leave your feedback and share your ideas and opinions in the comment section. If you want to stay up to date with the next videos, you can subscribe the channel and click the like button. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.